Shtalbi Mio podcast.
Everybody, welcome to first episode of Shtalbi and Mio podcast. So today guest is from America, a good artist named by Tizer.
Tizer, not Tizer.
Oh fuck, I got it.
It's all good.
Welcome.
I was born in America, but I moved to England when I was 7. My mother was British. Parents got divorced, and then she brought us to England. So I became a graffiti artist in England when I was 12 with my brother, who writes Shucks. We started doing graffiti in 1988 to be part of hip hop culture, and it was a way for us to be part of it without people realizing that we were white kids. Because with graffiti, people never knew what you looked like. But now, because of social media, everybody knows what I look like. But that's fine, because I only do positive stuff.
Good one.
So first, can you tell us how the whole graffiti thing started? The history of it.
Okay, so some people say that it started in Philadelphia and then it moved to New York. New Yorkers will say that it started in New York because
New Yorkers are.
Yep. So it started in the late 60s. I mean, you can go further back than that if you want to, but with style writing, what we call graffiti now, or street art, or however you want to call it. As children, they never called it graffiti. It was never known as graffiti. It was the media that used that word. We called ourselves writers, bombers, street artists, and style writers. So the reason why we were called writers was because we were writing our names, and they were kind of superhero names. So you didn't normally use your government name. You made up, or people used their nicknames or their kind of futuristic kind of name. So young children started writing their names with markers, and then it moved on to spray paint. People started doing tags on buses. Most of the terminology comes from war terminology because America at the time was in Vietnam. So older brothers and fathers were coming back and telling their stories. So the name tag comes from name tags that people wore around their neck. You were in a crew. You went out bombing. All of the... If you're battling when you're painting next to people, you battle each other. And then if you're battling other crews, it's going to war. So it all has kind of war terminology. And it's about camouflaging your letters so that the general public can't read it or the police can't read it. So it was rebel art, and it was the first art form that was made up by children. And as a young person, it really spoke to me. When I first started seeing it in the early 80s in London, it was exciting, and it was a youth culture kind of phenomenon, and it pissed off the older generation because they didn't understand it, and now it's become the fastest growing art form in the world, and America hates it, but they should be proud of it because there's graffiti artists now in Russia or in China and around the world, and it's an exciting subculture that I'm really glad to have been part of.
Yeah.
Nice.
So how did you start your journey as a graffiti? Do you have some story?
Yeah. Well, originally, my cousin, when we first moved to England, we lived with my aunt, uncle, until my mother could afford to buy her own flat. So we lived with my aunt, uncle, and their 3 kids. And 2 of my younger cousins, who were 5 and 7 years older than me, and then my eldest cousin was 10 years older than me. My younger cousins were punks. So when we lived with them, they were like, "Oh, you need to listen to punk, ska, and reggae." So we stopped listening to kind of pop music and just listened to kind of hardcore political music. And my cousin took us across London one weekend when he was looking after us to see an artist from New York called Futura 2000. He did a piece in West London. And when I say piece, he did a masterpiece. So a masterpiece is 4 colors or more in your graffiti. So that becomes a masterpiece. When graffiti writers call it a piece. But he did a piece in West London, and we crossed London to have a look at it. And it wasn't that he was necessarily into graffiti, but it was because Futura rapped on the Clash's album, and he wanted to see that. So as children, we looked at it and realized that graffiti was an important thing. We should study it and try to read it. And from that moment on, that was in 1983 when I was 8. And from that moment on, we started looking at, because England really started, there was kind of an influx of New York style graffiti in England. Before then, there was political graffiti, feminist graffiti, and then you had kind of punk and skinhead graffiti, but it didn't have any style to it, where New York graffiti was styled letters, and you had fake names. So South London was known for tags, and so buses and slam door trains had a lot of tags in it. So we started trying to read it, and we were fully excited by that. And then by 1984, British punk and ska music was dying, and my British punk heroes started making disco rap tunes. So for me and my brother, we felt that hip hop was the new punk, and it was made by children. So a lot of the rappers at the time were only like from 3 to 6 years older than us. So we kind of felt that that was the new style of music that was coming out, and for us to be part of that, we could do that by being part of the graffiti culture.
So, for how many years have you been doing this?
35 years I've been.
So in these 35 years, do you have any funny stories maybe, or interesting stories you can tell us while doing graffiti and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, it was fully illegal. It was rebel art, and it was there to piss people off. You know, I did it. I was an angry kid. It made me travel my city. It made me go into places that other people didn't go, and it was exciting for me, and it still is. But it was kind of like a journey. Do you know what I mean? Like, you go out to paint on stuff, and you might get chased, you might get away with it, you might be arrested, you might get punched in the mouth. You never knew what was going to happen.
Did you ever get punched in the mouth?
I got punched in the mouth a few times.
Nice.
But you know, that's how it is. It's dangerous being a child in a city.
Did you maybe have trouble with law? Maybe with the law?
I had trouble with other graffiti crews and the older generations. You know, like at certain moments I had to run a lot, I had to hide, but that makes it kind of exciting. You know what I mean? It was you were trying to be a ninja. You know what I mean? It was like you wanted to be like a Secret Service kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, it was so uncool to do it. You didn't tell people. So, like, you never told your girlfriend that you did graffiti because she wouldn't have been impressed by it. She would have thought you were an asshole. And then it was really secretive. And you started, once you were trusted by other graffiti artists, then they would introduce you to people they knew. But you had to be trusted because...
Some gang shit.
Yeah, but people didn't. I never knew what people's real names were. I only knew their tags. So if I got arrested, I wouldn't be able to go, "Oh, that guy's name's John."
Yeah.
Not that I'm a snitch, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was.
It makes sense. What's the funniest tagline you ever heard?
Well, some of the kind of political stuff that was painted, I think, was really good. You know what I mean? If I was doing I always felt that graffiti was political enough. So, I mean, most of the time when I paint, I put peace signs and I do love hearts because that's what I try to promote. I never put... If I put guns or knives, it's normally a skeleton character that's holding that. So, yeah, I never push violence. But, you know, there's... So most of the stuff that I've done, if it's political, I try to bring comedy within that so that I'm not pushing a message that you can still laugh at it. It's not ramming my ideas down your throat.
Yeah, it's hidden. It's
Yeah.
like you have the message there, but it's also cool to look at it.
Yeah, but it's rebellious in its own right. So a lot of the time it doesn't need to specifically say something. And I think that's what makes graffiti scary to the powers that be, is that if we all joined together and actually wrote political messages, we could change people's viewpoints. So that's why it's so illegal at times.
I never have seen it like that. But I'm not much of a graffiti guy.
But you know, it's something that it's going against the grain. You know, like, we're not supposed to be artists. I'm not from a rich family, so in the UK in the past, the only people who were allowed to be artists were from the elite, because we're supposed to sweep floors and shine shoes. So we're not meant to be as poor. The poor people, we're not supposed to be artists. We're supposed to be sweeping floors and being subservient. So that's why a lot of fine art is really snobby, and it needs to have a deeper meaning, because rich people want to be able to at dinner parties go, "Oh, well, you know, this means this." Yeah. But a lot of the general public, humans need to see art. They need to hear music. They need to dance to be able to feel free. So graffiti was taking spaces and bringing color to a city when so anybody can look at it and find beauty in that if they choose to. So any type of art is subjective. Either you like it or you hate it. And a lot of the time people hate graffiti because they've been taught by the media that they should hate it, when actually it's artwork for them. It's artwork by the people for the people.
By the people for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I generally think they're cool. Like, it's a boring street and then you just see a tagline written in cool ass shit.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like the one you just did.
Oh, thanks.
I love that.
Oh, thank you, man.
It was interesting, simple, kind of simple.
Yeah.
It wasn't like too complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
And I loved it.
Oh, thanks, man.
I love those kind of stuff because they really make a street more interesting, or just a place more
More
interesting.
colorful. You know?
More colorful.
Yeah.
It's not like blank, you know.
Yeah.
So,
What are you doing? That's my drink.
He's taking our drinks.
He's trying to steal my drinks. What's this guy? But yeah, I mean, you asked me to tell you funny stories. When I was younger, and when I was being chased, it was terrifying for me. I was like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. And when I do get chased now, for the first kind of 7 minutes, I'm super scared and stressing out, and then I start. If I trip over and then scramble to get up, I normally start laughing because graffiti is literally the shittest crime ever. It's you know what I mean? You've been writing the same word for years, and it's not like it's good detective work. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
the guy.
Yeah, the guy's been writing the same thing,
same name,
over and over and over again. So it's quite funny because when you meet police officers, they're like, "Oh my god, we caught this guy," and you're like, "Yeah, you should have caught him like within the first." Yeah, like well done. Like,
well done.
It's the same. Like, but you know, they try to make out that it's a terrible thing, but it's not. You're not harming anybody. It's basically changing a color of a surface, and all it needs is a roller to
paint over it.
Do you know what I mean? So people try to make out that it's a really terrible thing, but it's only because people are so fascinated on ownership of specific items. You know what I mean? And
I get that.
And
just bulge in and like just tell you something like real quick. You remember the time that we did these murals with Fotianji, like when you did that character, and then you took some sprays and just did it like a pop-up at the bridge.
yes.
So some big wigs came with security guards and like with a hired company to clean it up.
Okay.
So I think that is the most OG thing, that like the biggest show of force that somebody showed on cleaning your graffiti. So you had the minister together with his security guards and stuff like that removing Tizer.
Yeah.
Just
But I mean,
You know what we should
it
do?
already had graffiti on the wall.
Make another
You know what I
graffiti.
mean? Like they needed to paint it anyway. So
I see
mean-
it as a clean canvas right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have to waste color on.
Yeah. Now we can just go and go graffiti it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How
But,
about
you know,
tonight?
You need to
Let's
have.
go.
Let's go
You
tonight.
need to have. I feel that cities need to have rebellion, and with graffiti, that is rebellion. And for when I see graffiti, no matter how bad it is or how good it is, it shows that there's life within the city and that people feel that they need to express themselves. For me, as a young person in London, I was anonymous and nobody cared about me or gave a shit. And with my superhero fake name, I became important when I shouldn't be. And because of that, I ended up traveling my city to paint, and then it made me want to go to other cities in my country, and then it started making me want to travel to other countries to then do graffiti. So it turned into a kind of tourism thing where I would get in touch with other people who did graffiti in other countries, and I would go and stay with them. I would go and paint in their city, or they would come to my city and I would show them around, and it became an international thing where we were all into the same
Interesting.
art form,
Yeah.
and we all felt that it was important for us to do it. You know, I think it becomes kind of like a religious practice that you feel that you have to do it. You know what I mean? It's so addictive that if you've written your name once on something, you want to do it more and more and more.
Yeah, I noticed that because I started writing Shtalbi,
Right.
because that's my nickname in footage, like Shtalbi, it means corn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it came from, it doesn't matter. I just started writing it and I can't stop. I just write it everywhere, wherever I can. Shtalbi, 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 Shtalbi.
Yeah, but that's what it is.
It's addicting.
But that's all it is. Do you know what I mean? And then once you learn how to do it with style,
Yeah.
then you're like, hey, that looks cool.
Let's do it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But
like
that's all it is, really. It's advertising something that can't be bought.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's young children. Originally, it was young children being like, "Hey, look at me! Somebody look at me! Please look at me!" Do you know what I mean? Like, it's normally a call for help. I mean, I can say that for myself, especially. Do you know what I mean? Like, I came from broken home. I wasn't good at school. I was dyslexic. All my teachers told me that I was going to be in prison by the time I was 17. Not that I was that bad. Do you know what I mean? Never did anything to.
I mean, teachers do that. They make
but they just that's how far removed they are from the children that they're teaching. Is that they don't even realize that maybe the troubled kids in your class, maybe they need the most help. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they're getting ignored at home, or maybe something bad's happening outside of school and that they're angry. Do you know what I mean? It's teachers should be there to look at the weaknesses and the strengths of the children that they're teaching, and work with the strengths and to build their confidence to make them better students. Do you know what I mean? So
to help them find their way.
Yeah, but like, I went to school from the age of 3 till I was 28 because I went back to university, and throughout that time of schooling, I only had 5 good teachers, and that's terrible.
That's too many.
No, but that's terrible.
It's terrible, but
do you know what I mean?
Like, had like 2 good teachers, so that's even worse.
Yeah, but like, so the teachers that excited me were teachers that were excited about the subject they were teaching.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't something that I naturally kind of was going to go to, they made it so exciting that I was interested in learning from them. But every other teacher was just there to get a paycheck, and so I didn't feel like I needed to work for them because they didn't want to work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So what was the first impression to your friends when they found out that you're like making graffitis, and the impression of your families when they find out?
Okay, so my close friends, it was me, my brother, and 2 friends that started doing graffiti, and none of my other close friends cared. They thought it was kind of cool. The longer that I did it, my friends started saying, "Hey, I saw your thing there," which gave me a boost of confidence. You know what I mean? Like, and then like my mother, she was a hardcore hippie. Both my parents were hardcore hippies in the 60s. They were against Vietnam War, and they were against they fought the good fight. So they were anti-war, they were anti-racist, they were pro-gay, you know what I mean? Just they fought the good fight. Yeah. They wanted humanity to become better, and so my mother came home one day when I was about 14 and my brother was 15, and she was like, "Right, guys, in the kitchen now." And we were like, "Fuck, what did we do?" We sat down at the kitchen table, and she was like, "I saw your tags up in central London, like up in the city," and we were like, "What? No, that definitely wasn't us." And she was like, "I know what your fucking tags are." And then we were like, "Huh?" And she was like, she looked at us, laughed, and went, "You're getting better," and then walked out of the room. So we were instantly like, "Mum's down." So once we had my mum backing us, we were fine to go. I mean, she always worried about us when we were
tagging.
No, not that. Just us being in dangerous places or being on railway tracks, and she worried for our safety, but she knew that it was something that we felt that we needed to do. So, and you know, if we always just wanted other people to realize that graffiti was a cool thing, and over the years of me doing it, it's now become an international thing, and you have events in other countries, and it's now revered where before it was hated.
So now you're staying here in Kosovo, right? For 2 years?
Yeah.
2 years now you're here? What brought you here?
Meeting Styles, which is a graffiti event. So my flatmate's been coming here for 8 years to do this graffiti event, he was trying to get me for about 4 years. He was trying to get me to come out here, and then I came 3 times, and then I moved here just because I just really like it here. I think the people here are really nice. I've spent a lot of time in former Yugoslavia. I'm in a crew called YCP, which has members in every country in former Yugoslavia. And after the war finished, the leader got all of the best artists from each country to join together to show that it was a hip-hop thing instead of a war thing. And I'm now the YCP member in Kosovo that's trying to bring the whole former country together through graffiti and hip-hop. So
That's great.
we kind of felt that because there's such a small scene in this country, we felt that we could help push it along and be beneficial to the artists here. Because through me doing my style of painting, I've been able to travel the world, and if people go by my example, then they might be able to travel the world too. You know, if they take it seriously, then they might be able to get on international events and paint murals, and I can teach them how to paint murals and paint on a larger scale.
That's great. But what I've noticed here in Kosovo, especially because I live here, is like there's a lot of people with talent.
For sure.
But nobody uses their talent. Nobody actually does something with it because they can't see the monetary. They can't see the money in it. Yeah.
So the problem. So for me, you can paint for free.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you can use roller paint, and then
you can get the cheap stuff and finish the job.
You can paint anything. It's about making a mark on a surface. That's all it is. So whatever materials you have, you can use that and to make an image. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it was really important for me as a young person. Was I didn't have any money. I came from the ghetto, and I was able to find bits of roller paint or find spray cans or
old paint or something.
Do you know what I mean? Or you can do a lot with one can of spray paint. Do you know what I mean? It's just how once you learn how to use it and learn how to use it as like a pencil, and you learn how to draw with it, then you can draw anything. So it's possible for anybody to, if they take it seriously, for them to achieve what they want to with it and be able to, like, I didn't think I was going to leave my neighborhood, and I've been to Saudi Arabia, and I've been to Azerbaijan and other parts of Europe, and I've traveled the world because I did graffiti. So if I can do it, then anybody can do it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are a lot more intelligent than me. So if I can do it, then they can do it. You know?
Was there any luck in this story? Like, did you get lucky to be able to do all this stuff? I mean, luck is everywhere, but
I don't think luck comes into it. I think hard work comes into everything. So you become lucky because you've worked hard at your craft. You can't just sit there and paint one thing and then you become super famous.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
To America because you painted one thing.
You've got to keep working at it for it to turn into something that, if you can draw, then you can make money.